Unlike the holiday of Sukkot, who has a first part in Yom Tov and a second one, Pesach stands out because it really is one holiday split in two halves. And what I mean by that is that halachically, for example, we are not going to say the Derasha of Hayoun on Shevii Shel Pesa'h because it is part of the first holiday. The name of the holiday also will be the same. It's called Shevii Shel Pesa'h, unlike the second half of Sukkot that we call Shemini Atzeret. So in other words, they really have nothing to do with each other. And as we are approaching the second part of this Pesach holiday, I think that it's important to reflect on what exactly are we celebrating. If really it is the second part of the same holiday, then why doing it again? Why the first half was not enough? What is exactly Shevii Shel Pesa'h adding to the first half of Pesach and to the full picture of that holiday? And when we think about Shevii Shel Pesa'h itself, what comes up is Kriyat Yam Suf. What we really are celebrating is the splitting of the Red Sea. Am Israel was standing by the sea and they were afraid, they were panicking, they didn't know what to do. The Egyptians were in the back and the people split. Until finally God came to their rescue, opened the sea, let them cross, and they finally witnessed the total extermination of the Egyptian army. That was it. They finally reached a true moment of liberation, and Yetziat Mitzrayim became absolutely real. And today I would like to share with you what I think about this incredible maaseh, this incredible part of the story that we call Kriyat Yam Suf, something that is not part of the plagues, but something that we celebrate on its own as the second half of Pesach. And before we get there, I think that it's important to go back to the Haggadah, because there is something in the first half of Pesach that we mentioned, something that we actually celebrated, and it's almost not noticeable. In the Seder of Pesach, we went through Kadesh, Urchatz, Karpas, and I would like to focus on the next step called Yahatz. Yahatz is probably the shortest one. The Baal Habayit will take the Masai and he will cut it into two halves. Why does he do that? And we have many explanations. Obviously, the kids are going to ask, and we are going to explain that this is what we read, this is what we heard. The ani, the poor person, cuts his matzah, cuts his bread into halves. Today, I think that we should think about the second half of Pesach. Yahatz is that split between the first half and the second half of Pesach, but most importantly, something that is going to remind us of the Kriyat Yam Suf. And just like God split the sea for our ancestors, so to the Baal Habayit will have a remez, will do something about that. And that is, by the way, the step that is just before Magid, the step that is just before the Haggadah, the main part of the Seder. And the reason for that is because Pesach is about freedom. Pesach is about celebrating the fact that we are no slaves anymore. We are not the slaves of Paro. We are free, and we celebrate that. And every nation understands that Independence Day is always something that is part of the essence of any country that went through that. But in Judaism, the Yahatz reveals that there is a misconception about freedom. Because if I am free, it cannot be on the expense of someone else. Or in other words, freedom is not something that is only about my rights. That is only about what I will gain, what I will have. And before we get to the Magid, before we get to that celebration of our freedom, we go through Yahatz. And Yahatz is the ability to understand and to reflect on the fact that we need to cut a little bit of ourselves to give some freedom to others. Because freedom is something that we celebrate only together. And sometimes, in order for the freedom to be real and to mean anything for me and for everybody else, I have to make a sacrifice. And only when I understand that I need to make a yahatz for my freedom and to make sure that it's not overstepping someone else's, then we are ready to go to the Magid. Then we can celebrate the Man Chilutenu. And that part will actually be the entire dynamic of Shevii Shel Pesa'h. Shevii Shel Pesa'h is about God splitting Kiryat Yam Suf. He's going to split the water, and he's going to show the Jewish people that on the other side, where real freedom awaits, there is one road to go through, and that's the idea of splitting the water, to split myself, to cut a little bit of what I need and what I want for the sake of others, for the sake of the klal, for the sake of the nation. And only then we are truly deserving Chilutenu. This is why the Gemara says, Kashin mezonotav shel adam ki kriyat yam suf, or kashe zivugo shel adam ki kriyat yam suf. There is something quite incredible about the shidduch, finding a mate, and the parnasah. You see, so many people feel, I am stuck, I can't find a mate. I wish that I could find my other half and finally feel free and finally be able to have happiness in my life. But wait, you have to know that once this happens, the secret ingredient for harmony in your couple will be self-sacrifice for the other. Only then you will understand that getting married is not just about standing under the chuppah, but most importantly, to stay married means to go through daily sacrifices for my other half. This is when you will reach freedom. And so many people are looking for a job, and we go through education, years in college and all kind of courses, and we finally get the job. But we all know that it won't be easy. And there are more duties than rights. Yes, you'll get your income. But kashin mezonotav shel adam ki kriyat yam suf is the same idea. Understand that the solution is only once you are ready to make those sacrifices. And this is why Borei Olam showed the Jewish people, you have to go through the kriyat yam suf to get there. And it's not just about this, it's about all the miracles that we will experience in our life. Every single time that we have to make that sacrifice, that we have to go through the challenge, it's called a nisayon, it's called a test. God is testing us. But in the word nisayon, we have the word nes, miracles. And if we are ready to make those sacrifices, if we are mature enough to cut a little bit of ourselves for the sake of others, then we truly deserve those miracles. Then we are deserving the title of Bnei Horin. And this is why it's not Kohofesh, it's Horin. Horin milashon harut. En lecha ben Horin la mi she'osek b'Torah. He makes a sacrifice to actually accept upon himself the yoke of the Torah, the yoke of Borei Olam being the ultimate God. This is what it means to celebrate freedom. And this is why the second part of Pesach is so crucial for the entire celebration of Pesach. And with this note, I want to wish to all of us to truly understand the importance of making those sacrifices and to deserve the title of Bnei Horin, and to finally see true miracles on a daily basis in our lives. Amen. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Chag Sameach, and tizku leshanim rabot.